Welcome everyone to Icon Church. My name is Dan, and we're so glad to be here with you. Even though we can't be in person, that at least we can meet here digitally. And I hope you're having a great morning or afternoon or evening whenever you happen to be watching this. But if you are watching it this morning on the live stream, I want you to go ahead and say hello in the chat there. Let us know where you're watching this. If you're watching this from the living room or maybe a kitchen table or watching this from bed, why don't you greet one another? As Arlene says almost every week, maybe you can tell someone, hey, you look fly. Granted, of course, you can't see them, but you can make a safe assumption and tell them. So we just want to engage several of the staff and volunteers, and there's a lot of people here in the chat right now. So we just want this to be a place where we can engage with one another while you're watching this. I know I can't get live feedback from you. I wish I could, because I'm just kind of talking to a camera in front of my face. I was telling some of the staff I wish we could have like a laugh track or an amen track so I could not feel quite so alone here. But we're going to go ahead and give this a try anyway. This is actually try number 2 because I spoke this entire sermon and felt good about it and was like, oh man, I think that landed. Like, okay, one take, we're done. And then I went to check the camera. And I guess this is the downside of this kind of being a one-man deal right now, is at some point in my message, I sounded something that sounds like, hey, and then that digital assistant's name. And that popped up on my phone as it was recording and just stopped the rest of this video. So I'm going to try to avoid that. And if that happens again, I may lose my mind. So this is essentially second service here, and glad to be with you guys. I hope, like me, you've got your coffee with you, and we're going to go ahead and jump into this. I realize that this is not typical. In fact, we even kind of did something very atypical and kind of built a studio here at the church, and by we, I mean because I was trying to practice good social distancing. In the past couple weeks, it's taken a few people to be able to come in and record this, but I think we've got it set so that we can just do this with one person. So whoever's speaking each week will just come in on their own and film this. So we've got this down to just as few people as possible to be able to do this, and watching from your homes is different. This has meant a lot of new normals for all of us. For some of you, you've got a lot more time on your hands because you're working from home, and maybe for some of you, you're able to be a little bit more efficient and you're loving this. But we realize that there's also others of you that maybe you got laid off. You had your hours reduced. Your work is non-essential, so you're now trying to figure out what new normal looks like for you now. I know for many of you, like my wife, like Kelly and I, next week starts online schooling for us, and we got to figure out what that looks like. And in one sense, I'm excited for the kids to have more of a normal routine. In another sense, I'm terrified for my life. I think after week 1, all of us doing online schooling will think that all teachers everywhere should be paid like $1 million a year at like a starting rate. So those of you who are teachers, you're also kind of figuring out what this online thing looks like. There are so many new things we're figuring out as we're living through this kind of social distancing world. This is this phrase that we didn't even think about 3 months ago. And now it's shaping every part of our lives. And we realize that this is kind of this new thing that we're all facing. Many of us are figuring out, okay, we can't go out this evening, or we can't, do this or see these people. So what does that mean? And for some of us, it means we're checking out new things. Some of you are streaming new shows, binging Netflix, trying those Netflix parties where you can like watch a show at the same time with someone halfway across the world or across the city. I got a message from one friend who's doing their best to learn some TikTok dances. So if you don't know what TikTok is, just find your nearest Gen Zer, and they'll be able to, they'll probably roll their eyes first, and then if they choose to, explain to you what it is. But they're kind of short. Many times they go viral videos that can be anything from funny things to these dances, and In fact, one of our staff, Dino Norfie, he's over pastoral care here at Icon Church, also one of our board members. He was doing this. He was figuring out this new TikTok thing, and he wanted to learn one of these TikTok dances. And I saw it, and quite honestly, it's amazing. So why don't you guys, I went ahead and edited this in here. Why don't we all together check out Dino's new dances that he's been working on while he's socially distancing. So check this out. Wow. Dino, that was phenomenal. I did not know your hips could move like that. So mad props, man. That was amazing. In fact, Dino's here in the chats. Why don't you tell him how great of a job he did? That was really, really something there, Dino. We're glad that you're here, that we're able to laugh about things and enjoy this time, even though it is challenging in many ways. And I know for me, as I kind of got ready to kind of start working on today's message, I went to kind of what we had planned. We had planned to do a series called Conversations, where we look at some conversations that Jesus had 2,000 years ago that meant something significant then, but still speak to us today, still mean something significant today. And I went back to that, and just to be honest, as I was looking at it, I just thought, I don't feel like I can just do business as usual. I just can't get back to something that we planned a year ago and talk about that. And I was sitting in my office, aka my bedroom, and thinking about what direction we should go. And I was listening to this podcast, and they referenced a short Instagram video that a pastor that I follow posted. Her name's Nadia Bowles-Weber, and I love all things Nadia Bowles-Weber. In fact, if you're looking for some reading in this season, I would encourage you to check out her books. She is equal parts hilarious, irreverent, challenging, and faith-inspiring. And so I went over to Instagram, and I watched this short little video, and I knew right away, this is what we have to talk about. So I'm basing today's talk off of that brief video. So I want to give credit where credit is due. But I think it's something that's incredibly important for us to realize and remember in this season. And it actually was based off of a conversation that Jesus had. It actually kind of fit into this series. It was a conversation that Jesus had over 2,000 years ago that I think speaks to us, even in this season, more than we could ever imagine. It's found in the book of Luke, Luke's account of Jesus' life. So I'd like to read this exchange for you. It's found in chapter 13, verses 31 through 34. It says this: "At that time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, 'Leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you.' He," being Jesus, replied, 'You go tell that fox. I will keep on driving out demons and healing people today and tomorrow, and on the third day I will reach my goal. In any case, I must press on today and tomorrow and the next day, for surely no prophet can die outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who sent you. How often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you are not willing.'" I love Jesus's bravado here. I love how he tells Herod, "You go tell that fox. I've got things to do." It's as if these people are coming to Jesus saying, "Jesus, listen, there's a guy out here that wants you dead. He wants to kill you. You need to get out of here." These were people looking out for Jesus's best interest. His life is being threatened, and Jesus's response is essentially like, meh, like I got things to do. Like, I'm going to be healing some people and casting out some demons and probably relacing one of my sandals. And like, I've got things to do, guys. Don't worry about it. It's as if Jesus is saying, when you face danger of all kinds, of all types, of all varieties, fear not. Be not afraid. When the Herods of your world come screaming and attacking and threatening your life. And this is important because it's timely. Because right now, we've all got some Herods in our life, don't we? There are Herods that are named coronavirus and COVID-19, one called unemployment and layoffs. These are very real fears in our lives. Social distancing, depression, potential economic collapse. And if you're like a glutton for punishment, and you recently watched Contagion, maybe you have a fear that this world is going to fall apart and it's going to turn into the grapes of wrath. And some of these fears are legitimate, and some of them are not. Some of them are fears that we need not worry about, but some of them are real. Some of them are fears that we're facing right now. We've got these Herods all around us, and here's Jesus, you go tell that fox I've got things to do. And this is fitting that Jesus' message is simply, essentially, be not afraid. And did you know that phrase, do not be afraid, is one of the most common commands in all of the scriptures? Of any other command, love God, fear God, all these things, do not be afraid, shows up more than almost any other. In fact, that exact phrase, do not be afraid, shows up over 70 times in our scriptures. That doesn't count all the be not afraids, the fear nots, all of the other kind of various ways to say it. It shows up literally hundreds of times in our sacred scriptures. But here's the deal. And maybe it's just me, but honestly, at face value, Jesus' words don't help me a whole lot. At least it's a whole lot easier said than done, right? I mean, can we be honest? It's not like we have fear because we've never heard the scriptures that say, fear not. You're not experiencing fear just because you never knew that was in the Bible. Otherwise, all you've got to do is follow us or probably any other church on social media right now. And you'll get plenty of verses and plenty of inspiration of saying, hey, don't fear. Fear not. God's got this, right? You see, has any social media posts ever that are encouraging people to not fear actually ever changed anything for you? Because they haven't for me. See, I read these things. I read these words of Jesus, and yes, I'm inspired, and yes, I think it's awesome. But it doesn't change the fact that I still experience fear. I've still got these very real fears, just like you. Some of you are afraid that you'll get sick. Some of you are afraid that your family members, who are among the most vulnerable, will get sick. You're afraid that you'll get laid off. Or maybe you did get laid off and you're afraid that you don't know how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to buy groceries or pay rent. And I'll be honest, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that someone that I love is going to get sick. I've got family members that are vulnerable to this. I'll be honest, I'm afraid for our church. I'm afraid for some of you that you'll get sick. For our doctors and our nurses and our healthcare workers, that things will get overwhelmed. I'm afraid for all of us financially. In an honest moment, we as a church, you know this, we recently made a pretty big decision in our church. We decided in February to become a fully inclusive church for the LGBTQ community. And we prayed about this and made this decision, and we knew that this would affect us. We knew that there'd be individuals, that this would be a bridge too far for them, that they would leave the church over this. And we knew that with them, finances would leave as well. So last year, the trustee board, we prepared for this year. We prepared for those losses in our budget this year. But we didn't prepare for this. And I'll be honest, there are times that I'm afraid. And all of these things, these are legitimate. And you see, that's what's so great about this story. At least that's what's so inspiring about this. Because like us, Jesus legitimately had something to be afraid of. This guy, Herod, that wanted Jesus dead, he had actually killed Jesus' cousin. Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist, had first been imprisoned by Herod and then had been beheaded. Jesus had something legitimate to be afraid of. You see, regardless of whether our fears are legitimate or overinflated, regardless of any of that, we're afraid of danger because by its nature, danger is dangerous, right? It just is. And listen, we understand that Jesus had every right to be afraid, and yet he responded with so much courage and bravery. Is it cool that Jesus shows us what this looks like? I mean, absolutely. But just that part of this story, does it actually do anything to take my fear away? For me, it doesn't. And maybe I'm just not as good of a Christian. Maybe I just don't have enough faith. But for me, that alone doesn't do it. Yes, we want to actually become more and more like Jesus, but just saying, be not afraid in a time like this, many times doesn't change anything. So if just saying, be not afraid doesn't do anything for us, then what do we do with this? What do we do with this story? And maybe just maybe, our hope for becoming not afraid isn't found in that idea of just saying, be not afraid, but maybe it's found in something else in the story. Maybe there's something else there that could speak to us in a moment like this. Specifically, the part where he calls Herod a fox and refers to himself as a mother hen. Maybe that beautiful image of God could mean something important for us today. And by us, I mean fragile, vulnerable humans facing very real fears and dangers. You see, this illustration isn't to point us towards a certain set of behaviors. This story isn't about do A, B, and C, and then God will protect you. It's not prescriptive like that at all. It's not how it works. In fact, quite the opposite. We need to understand what Jesus is and is not saying in this. Listen, can a mother hen protect her chicks from a fox that is intent in destroying them? No. This isn't an illustration that trust in God will keep bad things from happening to you. That's not the case. And the pastors and the preachers and the churches that are out there saying that right now, they're lying, and that's dangerous. This doesn't mean have faith in God, trust in God, and nothing bad will happen. It's irresponsible to say those things. To say that as long as you've got God, nothing bad is going to happen. That's not how this world works. Let me be clear about something. Nothing keeps danger from being dangerous. A mother hen cannot stop a determined fox from killing her children. So where does that leave us? If danger is real and a hen can't actually keep her chicks out of danger, then what good is an image of a mother hen God if she can't keep us safe? Maybe it's not safety that actually keeps us from being unafraid. Maybe the thing that should keep us from being afraid is love. Maybe it's that love of God that can keep the fear from entering us. See, this would mean that a mother hen God doesn't keep foxes from being dangerous. A mother hen God keeps dangerous foxes from being what determines how we experience this unbelievably beautiful life we get to live. God, the mother hen, gathers all of her downy feathered little ones under her protective wings so that we can know where we belong, so that we can feel the love of God, so that we can know that comfort, so that we can know who we are and whose we are. And in scary times, it's trusting in her that brings us comfort. It's being brought near to her that we feel her love for us. But faith in God does not bring you safety. Foxes still exist. Danger is still real. You see, danger is not optional. But maybe fear is. You see, Paul tells us that the opposite of fear isn't courage or bravery. Paul tells us that it's love that casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. So in response to our foxes, our own Herods, in response to the very real dangers of this world, we have an invitation as people of faith to respond by loving. If we want to cast out fear when we encounter danger, we respond with love. Maybe if we want to make our world a better, less fearful place, we shouldn't be saying, quick, buy all the toilet paper you can. Maybe we shouldn't be shouting, prepare, 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 batten down the hatches, look out for you and yours, protect the economy, prepare. Maybe those shouldn't be the things that we're shouting the loudest, as if preparation is what brings peace. Maybe how we make the world a less fearful place is by loving it well. Maybe we bring peace not by taking, but by giving. Maybe that's what this message should be speaking to us today. You see, there's this famous story of famed reformer Martin Luther. He was once asked, "What would you do if you knew tomorrow that the world was ending?" And Martin Luther stopped and thought, and he responded, "I'd plant a tree today." I love that. I love that, that defiant hopefulness. That if I knew that the world was going to be destroyed tomorrow, if something was coming that could threaten everything, I would love that world today. I would do something today to give to that world tomorrow. And maybe that's the hope for us. Maybe it's that begins to quiet down the fear. Maybe it's loving this world well that does that. See, because the Herods of this world, the dangers all around us, these very real foxes, it's saying that those things do not get to determine the contours of our hearts or the contents of our mind. We will feel that loving embrace of that mother hen God, and we will be reminded of what our mission is. See, what is the mission of God? What is the mission that Jesus came to show us? The mother hen's mission is to love and to care for her chicks, to make sure they feel her warmth in scary times when foxes are lurking. And if we want to be more like Jesus, then we should do that too. We should let this world know that we care, that we love it, that we should do everything we can to embody that message and to love this world well. I want to close by praying for you, and I want to read this benediction, this prayer over all of you as a reminder of who we want to be as a church. And then I'll close in prayer. Let me read this over all of us. Icon Church. Do not let this virus, this disease, and all the fears associated with it shape the contours of your heart or the contents of your mind. Do not let fear kill the love that's within you. You see, may we go out and may we plant trees. May we cast out demons and heal the sick. May we squeeze every drop of living out of this world. We will say, to hell with fear, because it does nothing to actually keep the bad things from happening. It just steals the joy of appreciating the good things all around us. And may you feel the love and the warmth and the compassion of our mother hen as she wraps her wings around us. I pray that today you would rest in that embrace. And then tomorrow, Icon, go out and love this world. Love this world well. Love it in your attitudes and in your actions. Don't let fear keep you from loving and planting trees in this world. But for now, just do it from indoors. We love you. We're praying for you. And may we remain hopeful in this scary time by remembering the love that God has for every single one of us. When foxes are out in this world lurking around, may we feel that love and that warm embrace. Praying for you. We love you. Take care of yourselves and wash your hands. Let me pray for you. God, I thank you that we can gather here even digitally, that we can chat with one another even though we're dozens or maybe even hundreds of miles away. God, may we remember this story, remember this exchange of Jesus, and yes, be inspired by his courage and that bravado, but also be inspired by the way he stayed on mission in the midst of that fear. May we be reminded of this picture that Jesus painted of a mother hen protecting her chicks. May we feel that warm embrace of our God today. May we trust in that love of the mother hen. We thank you. We pray these things in your name. And we all said, amen. Amen. I love you. Take care of yourselves. And we hope to see you very soon. God bless.